I am taking a brand new account all the way from 1000 trading to 2000 trading, sharing my games so you can learn from my chess strategies. So today we are 1167, we are on the road to 1200 rating. So let's see, we are playing from against an Italian player, 1135. So as usual for the opening, I am gonna keep things super simple. That is always what I do. I just put a pawn in the center. Let's say we play this, another pawn in the center. It depends a little bit what my opponent is going to do. There is a chance I will go for the Pegasus system, which is my own opening that I invented with knight to d2. You can play it first, you can play it later, but it depends a little bit what black does. Alright, and this is already not such a great move by black, developing the knight in front of the pawn, because they are basically limiting their own opportunities of ever doing a counterattack here in the center. So I will develop my bishop and also pin this knight to the king, so they cannot move their knight. That's a very logical move, and that is what I'm looking for in the opening. I just want to put some pawns in the center, and with the center, of course, I mean these four squares, and then also develop pieces and castle. So right now, we can actually just castle, or we can try to increase the pressure on this knight. Because it's already pinned, I am thinking if I move in, I am attacking it twice. And they basically have to go back with the bishop to defend it. But it is defendable for them, so I'm not going to move the same piece twice, I will just castle. If they had played e6, it might have been more interesting to go in with the knight, because their bishop wouldn't be able to go back. Alright, now we have to find a way to break through. Of course, still these two pieces need to develop, so I will play my knight here to d2, so it's looking at this square, and also we can play pawn here to c4 in the future. Okay, they are developing with the queen. By the way, I had an opportunity already a couple of times to take this and double their pawns. The reason I'm not doing that is because the doubled pawns don't matter too much, and they would just be able to use it to counterattack me in the center. This is a bit of a strange move, honestly, moving the queen out so early. I thought he was going to play this. Maybe he wants to castle queenside, but that's going to be quite a terrible plan if he does that. So I'm going to push pawn to c4. We always want to attack these four squares in the center. Let's see what they do. If they take, that's not so great. They are helping us with the knight development. They can temporarily attack here with the bishop as well, but it doesn't matter because we actually have a trick. We would be able to attack the queen and also backwards attack their bishop. So they are making a big mistake. They are basically castling on the queen side while we have castled on the king side. That means they want to start some type of war. They want us to both basically fight and hit each other with as many pawns and pieces as we can. But they are going to be too slow to start an attack here. I can already see their pieces are basically blocking their own attack. While for me it's going to be super easy to attack. So yeah, I'm just thinking, how can I increase my attack? Maybe even queen a4, because if I take the knight I can just win this pawn. But if he moves the king over, well, I think anyways it still works. Yeah, queen a4, probably already quite good for white. Also, we are putting an extra piece in the game. The only problem I have right now is this bishop is actually not doing anything. So I might have to find a way to make it a better piece. It's never going to do anything here, so maybe b3, bishop a3. So I already have some plans here. I don't know, I might be missing something more obvious. Alright, and he just cut a connection between his queen and his knight, which was probably the worst thing he could have possibly done. So I have a couple of plans. I can take this. I can also go in with my knight. And probably I will have a checkmate here, because the king is already in danger. So for example, check with the queen. If he goes here, check with the knight. And then wherever he goes, I can always grab this pawn. But he is somewhat escaping. So I don't want him to escape. My other idea was to first play the knight, so we are already taking away the escaping square. And also we are attacking the pawn twice. And then we even have some potential to go in with the queen as well, or with the knight. It's not super clear to me. Let's see. Taking this pawn, of course, is also strong, because on the next move I can put in my knight and then I have this checkmate. I think that's also just a simple plan. But he can always attack my queen. So if we take the pawn, he can attack my queen. I can give him a check. He goes here. I can give him another check. He goes in. And he's basically escaping. Okay, but I am still gonna do it, because if he can attack my queen anyways, it's best to take it first before he defends this pawn. So right now I'm basically just trying to find checkmate. Also, I didn't realize this earlier, but I can also use my pawn to attack. This check, he has to go here. But I am also putting my own queen in trouble. So I think this check makes sense. He probably will go here. This looks like a great move. The only problem is he is somewhat getting away with his king, but maybe that was just unavoidable. I am not sure. Maybe I missed a better strategy. Okay. This looks like an interesting move as well. And if he moves the king, we have a fork, a basic tactic. And if he puts the pawn in between, we can just take it. And this is why I said that it was immediately a very big mistake for them to castle on the queen side in this position. They should have just castled on the king side and honestly nothing was going on. But now we have a fork, so that means we attack both the queen and the king at the same time. They have to take this, we can take this. And basically we are already up material, and this is also a checkmate in one. They are avoiding the checkmate in one. It doesn't work because they can play the bishop here. Alright. What I'm looking for here is there a way I can activate more pieces for the attack? Especially this bishop would be great, but I don't see any immediate way to activate the bishop. I think I'm gonna activate the knight first. And then maybe I can play b4 and try, or b3 and try to activate my bishop. Okay, now he is starting a counterattack, but it's not really gonna do anything, honestly. These checks always just run into the bishop there. But I do see a plan. I'm gonna go in with the knight. I basically want to trade pieces now. As soon as you are up material, we are up material because we were able to take a rook, I think, with our knight. So now I just want to trade. He is making a simple mistake. I can push this pawn, attack his bishop, also attack his queen. So that's just gonna win material. Yeah, there's nothing he can do. He just loses material. This is a discovered attack. I can attack this, and also a discovery. This piece was blocked, but now it's no longer blocked. And now he can try to do a counter checkmate, of course, but yeah, he's losing the queen, so the counter checkmate is not really gonna work. And now this should be easy cleanup. We are at the queen and we have a rook, and that's it. I don't know if we made any mistakes, no blunders, no misses, so that means we played a pretty nice game. I am going to play a second game. Let's see if we can get the black pieces. All right. Pawn to e4. I will play, let's say, the French defense again. I'm playing against the 1200 from the Netherlands. This is a bad move against the French. He is probably just trying to play his regular opening, but he is basically immediately running into his bishop being attacked. So this is super easy for me. I just can play this, and his bishop is basically already somewhat out of the game. So that's not good. What we want to do as usual, I don't know this line because this is a bad move by him, but we just want to develop our pieces towards the center. We don't want to play moves like he is doing here. That's never going to be the right plan. So I want to develop this bishop. I can play it here. That would be a more aggressive option, but he has the d4 counter push, so that doesn't look like the best plan. I can also just put it here on d6, and we are going to see what he plays. I was thinking he was going to do this. It's just so obvious because now he is attacking this pawn twice, but I'm actually going to play pawn to c6 and just protect it. Because again, we are just trying to fight for these 4 central squares. That's all we want to do. And we can castle. Probably he is going to try and attack my knight. Alright, I can choose to defend it with my knight or defend it with my bishop. I think both of those are a good option. I am going to do it with my knight because my knight was not yet developed. Now it's in the game. The only problem is I am slightly blocking my own bishop, so we are going to see if we can fix that. This is an interesting move as well, because we are moving our knight forward, we are attacking, and we are attacking his queen. So that's an interesting plan. Same basically on this side of the board, attacking the bishop, because I still want this one to somehow move. I can also attack his bishop and just, if he trades, he basically helps us, because we are opening up the bishop. So that trade would be a good thing for us. Let's think. So I'm thinking about this move, because a trade would be good. Of course, he can also go back. Then we don't really achieve anything. Or we can attack his queen. He has to move the queen. I'm not super sure where he's going to go, but I always have to be careful that my knight is a little bit not that well protected, I would say. But probably attacking his queen is a smart plan. It also gives him a bunch of opportunities to just make a mistake and give away a free piece. So that is why I will play this move. Because there are a bunch of tricks here. For example, this is a check, this sacrifice is a check, this bishop can do some tricks as well. And if he thinks he is going to take this first, which might be a beginner calculation mistake, he is losing. Because I would be grabbing his queen with a check, and then I can recapture the bishop. This move is also possible, but I think it also is going to lose if I can line up my rook with my knight and his queen and his king. And if you can do something like this, usually there will be tricks in the position. Let's see. Also, if he takes this knight, it's not a problem, and my bishop has opened up. So that is everything we wanted, basically, has been achieved. So this position already looks quite great. We just have to find a way to force something to happen. Alright, so I can move my knight and also have an attack on the queen. That's always nice. So if I can move my knight somewhere with a threat, that's the most amazing thing I could potentially do. For example, this would be a threat on the queen, a threat on the queen, a threat on the knight, and I can also go here. But nothing really happening in that variation. This also looks nice. Because we attack the queen, we also attack this square. We also attack this square. His queen has to move. And I don't think he has any way to protect his knight. Plus, we can potentially take this. So I think this might be an interesting discovery attack. Yeah, his queen doesn't have that many moves. And we might win this knight. But we are also losing our knight. So I think this works. Let's see what he plays. Because we are attacking all of these squares, so he has trouble with his queen, and we can win his knight. The only problem is I'm also losing my knight in those lines. Yes, he can go here. Ah, that also protects the knight. Sure. So what are we gonna play? Well, I can always just reset the position. Or I can take a free pawn, but I'm also losing a pawn here. So I think I'm actually going to reset the position. Maybe I didn't have the best plan. And that's the good thing with moving pieces. If you make mistakes or if you don't see the solution, you can always move them back. If you move pawns and you make a wrong move, you cannot push back your pawn. But the only reason this didn't work was basically because of the same problem we have with this knight being here. So I think I am going to play pawn to h6. And then we can see what's going to happen. If he takes, he is also helping. He can also sacrifice, but I don't think it's going to help him. So probably he will take, and then we can recapture with the queen. Yeah, there might be something else I missed here, but I don't really see any way to make progress. Okay, so he is moving back. And now we can attack this and the queen at the same time. And if he takes my knight, I take his queen. He takes my queen, I take his knight. That's also interesting. Or we can also recapture with the pawn. But I don't think he has made a mistake so far. I have been calculating some things, but I don't think he has really made a mistake so far. Okay, so he is going for this line. So if we take with the queen, we are in trouble because our queen needs to protect our rook. We can always take with the pawn, that's the easiest line. He just grabbed the knight. If we grab a queen, we are winning, but he also grabs a queen, and then we can grab this knight. And I think at the end of the variation, we got a queen and a knight in exchange for a knight and a queen. So I think that's a good trade-off. I do have to watch out if he just captures my rook, but then I can capture this bishop, and we basically still have our queen remaining. So I think this is going to work, because this knight is still hanging. And I think also this really benefits us in the end, because now we get the rook into the enemy position, plus we have new tricks. For example, bishop takes here, and if he recaptures, we also win this bishop. Okay, so they are attacking my rook, so we have to solve this problem first. I can just go back. And the position is still equal, actually. But I think it's a little bit more pleasant for black. But he is playing some great chess. Or maybe I missed the tactic. But I don't think we missed the tactic. So now we will have to find a new plan. I'm thinking we have the better center. I still want to get this piece into the game. That's something very important, getting this piece into the game as well. So we can also connect the rook so they can work together. Maybe we can also start an attack here with the pawns, but I think he always just solves all the problems if he just plays this. I do like that his knight is actually badly placed, because I might in some line attack it and also pin it to a rook that could get there in the future. But let's see what he plays first. But he is playing great chess, I have to say. For a 1200 rated player, he is playing great moves. Alright. Now he is losing. Because he puts his bishop here, but it has very limited options. And if I attack it, it's trapped. It cannot go here. So basically he trapped his own bishop. He played a very good game, but he traps his own bishop. And this is honestly how you can win so many chess games. If you just keep playing logical, solid, normal moves and think like we have been thinking during this game, eventually many of your opponents are just going to give away some free material. They are attacking this. What are we going to do? We can defend it, but we are putting our pieces in a defensive position. So let's just attack. Let's attack. And now I want to develop this bishop somewhere. Maybe... Well, actually, I don't have that many good squares for the bishop. This is like very strange. I'm blocking my own bishop. I'm actually gonna do this first. Just attack his knight. Because the knight doesn't have that many great squares either. Yeah, and now he's blocking his own pieces. And now my idea was to put the bishop here and maybe expand a little bit with the pawns. If we can. Yep. Alright, so he is improving his knight a little bit. We can attack his knight. Because if I can trade pieces, that is of course what I want. I am already winning. So trading pieces is always the best option. But my bishop is still so bad in this position. This is known as the French defense bishop. We are in the French defense, the bishop is not really doing much. I could have played it here maybe, but I also didn't believe in putting it here on this square because of g4 and then I had to move back. And I never wanted to put it here either because I'm blocking my own rook. He is going everywhere with his knight, but I think we are just going to use our bishop now to attack. And all of the jumping squares from the knight are covered. Except that one, but that's the passive one, so we don't care. I'm actually going to attack him again. I just want to keep attacking. Let's see if he makes a mistake. Because he is putting his own knight in danger, and now he is giving the knight away for free. And that is how you win. That is how you win chess games. I know it looks super easy to see me do this, but this is what you should try to focus on. Just play very normal moves. We try to always improve our pieces. And make sure after every move your opponent makes, you double check if they made a blunder. And if you think they made a blunder, they probably did. Because at this level, their bad moves are just bad moves. There are not some complicated traps they calculated. Usually it's just a bad move. And now we are already up 5 points of material. Because we have an extra knight, we have an extra bishop, and I think we lost a pawn because it's 6 versus 7. I don't remember where. And he is helping us again. He is proposing a trade of pieces, but we want to trade pieces. So we are going to trade, block this diagonal for the rook. And now all I want to do basically is trade the final bishop and rook, because then we will have an endgame with 2 extra pieces. That will be super, super easy to win. And we also have some plan, I think, to maybe push a little bit with the pawns on the queen side. And start a little bit of a fight with the pawns. I think that's a good plan. And we can maybe even trap this bishop. Like, if he doesn't do anything, we just trap the bishop. So I think that's a good plan. The rook doesn't do anything over there, so I'm just gonna see if we can try to trap the bishop. Nope, he is making an escaping square for his bishop, but at the same time we are also trading. And trading makes me happy because the more trades, the easier the endgame. Plus, he is also losing the pawn in this variation. He is now sacrificing his rook. Alright. So now it's going to be easy to win, but we have to watch out we don't run into any trouble. So I'm going to defend this first. And now I just want to pick up some pawns. Especially this dark squared pawn. He cannot protect this. This pawn he can probably protect forever with the bishop. Yep, so we can take this one. And one simple trick that we could potentially go for here is we can see if we can attack this bishop and just take the bishop. And of course we are losing material because we are giving away a rook for a bishop. But now this should be super easy because we just have 2 extra pieces. I was going to say the only thing we have to watch out for is that he has this extra pawn that he can try to promote. But I am pretty sure I will be able to prevent it from pushing, for example, like this. And even if he pushes, we take it. We give away an extra piece. And I know it looks like I'm just giving away a bunch of free pieces, which I am. But it doesn't matter because we now have just an extra knight. And it's a 3 versus 3 pawn situation. And we have the extra knight. So we will always be able to win some material. For example, we attack this. Let's say we attack this. Alright, I'm going to move my king a little bit as well. And in the end, we're always going to have an extra piece. How can I attack the pawns? Probably this is a good plan. And he cannot forever push the pawns. The more he pushes, he is getting closer to my position. Now we can just grab all of these free pawns. And that's going to be a very easy game. So this is how you can really simplify your endgame. Especially if you are up material, sometimes the endgame can still be tricky. Especially like here, they were trying to promote, they were trying to sacrifice and play for tricks. But if you have so much extra material, you can just give it all away and then the game will become super easy to win. If you don't have a lot of material extra, you will probably need to play more accurate and calculate. I could even give away knights here and it wouldn't honestly matter at all. But I'm gonna play this move. Also, if you can get your pawns away from these rook files, the starting files for the rook, that's always great because those pawns have a very huge opportunity for your opponent to get into a draw position. There are some complicated draws they can try to play for. So that's why, in general, if I can get my pawns away from that file, I will do it. That's why I didn't take with the knight. And now this is just cleanup. We have to keep the knight. We don't even really have to keep the knight, but keeping the knight makes sense. And then we can just use the king and the pawn. Probably there are some faster ways, but if I'm explaining, it's difficult to find the fastest. But we can just keep pushing. And there are multiple ways to win here. Sometimes you can even checkmate the king just with this material. But oftentimes you are going to try to make an extra queen, or you are even going to give away one of these pawns to make an extra queen. Yep, and now they are allowing me to make a queen. We do have to always watch out for stalemate. That is something we don't want to happen, a position in which they don't have a legal move, and that can happen if we make a queen. So I need to watch out for this. But right now he still has 2 legal moves. If you are worried about stalemate and getting a draw, all you have to do is basically check and be 100% sure that they always have a move. For example, I know he has this move. And even if I make a queen, he will still have these 2 light squares. At least that he can use. So I know there won't be a stalemate here, but if you are worried, just calculate. And if you want, you can also make a rook to limit the opportunity. But I would just say calculate. And they surrender. I